Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call this regular meeting to order at 7 p.m. Will clerk please call the roll?
Michael Rossi,
Here.
Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren, Eddie Alvarino,
Here.
Michael Florio,
Here.
Chinzia Lettieri,
Here.
Jay Mandel,
Here.
Zach Plord,
Here.
Dylan Walter,
Here.
Andrew Brandy,
Here.
Susan Marcus,
Here.
Brian Pellegrini,
Let's see. It's Andrew's turn to be seated for Ellen. So your seat is the replace. For chair's comments, I want to note that we're doing some of these things in a little bit different order tonight than in the past. We're receiving things right after the minutes. This is due to a decision that I made, which was to allow the town's application to go to public hearing tonight. Okay, which is PZC 26-4. Okay, so that's why the order is different. We need to receive it. Normally, we have not, or not normally, we do not usually do this for regular applications because we need to have time for review. But this came from our town staff, so it already had the review, so we don't lose anything. However, that said, if you feel more time is needed, we have 55 days, we can certainly continue the hearing. It does not have to close tonight. That'll be for everybody to consider. Okay, that's my comment. Minutes. Item 3, we need to review and approve the minutes from January 12th, 2026. Does anybody have any comments?
No comments, and I'm prepared to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Now, item 4 is receiving applications. 4A is the Planning and Zoning Commission 26-4, which is a zone change and lot line adjustment at 117 Nod Road and 125 Nod Road and 0 East Shore Drive. And the applicant is the town of Clinton. Do I have a motion to receive it? Motion to receive, I accept. Okay, you have it.
Second.
Okay, we got first and second over there. Okay. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Yeah, good. The next one, Planning and Zoning Commission 26-1. The site plan for a barber shop. And there is a 327 East Main Street. This on the agenda, it said receive, but at this point, we can receive and consider this application. We don't have to, since it's just a site plan, not. Okay.
And the matter if it's already open, Mr. Chairman?
Hmm?
Does it matter if it's already open?
It doesn't require a public hearing, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need a motion to receive this and then we can discuss it and hear from the applicant and make a determination tonight if we want to. You made a motion to receive, thank you.
Second.
Okay. I think you got it. I think Andrew got it. Good to read.
I beat him.
You beat him. Okay, So, with that, is there an agent or applicant here for the application?
Yes, hi, Tony D'Amato.
Come up so we make sure we can hear you. We have to record this for the. What?
Yes, hi. Tony D'Amato. I work for James Schetzel, who is the owner of the shop. Clinton Barber Shop has been in business here over 50 years in town. And, unfortunately, we had to get out of our old place because of, Aldi's is coming in. So we were lucky enough to find a location down the street. And we would appreciate it if we could operate out of there.
Now, this is, you're not making any external changes as I read this.
No,
So, and it's gonna be 2 chairs, there's,
Yep.
you meet the parking requirements.
yep,
Okay, and as I saw it also, no external changes. Yeah, and there's no issue with water or sewer.
no, it's just a regular barber shop, no shampooing, no water issues at all.
Okay.
Any
Any questions?
The sign will be set for an application, I take it?
That was the design review board and it's zoning.
Okay. So, good point, okay. Anybody have questions, from the commission?
Nothing with parking that we need to be,
No.
okay.
No, they have plenty.
Go ahead, Zach.
You listed your hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah,
Is,
9 to 5.
if there was any change in hours, would that require an additional application or anything like that?
We require an amendment.
Yeah,
Approval. So
So,
if you even want to consider having additional hours, say Saturday or whatever, the time is now to list them.
you don't,
You
you
don't
don't
have
have
that.
that.
Pardon, I'm sorry.
Well, what we're saying is if you,
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
I'm
wanted to increase the hours that you're asking for now,
I see.
so that if you, in the
Okay.
future, you needed to expand, you
Okay.
could.
Yeah, I would consider, my wife's been sick, so I haven't taken Saturdays off. But, I would consider, if it's possible, to work Saturdays, half a day.
So we're gonna amend the discussion to 9 to 5 on Saturdays as
No,
well.
Saturday would be 9 to 12, half a day.
Okay.
We usually work Saturday, but since she got sick, I've been staying home.
Yeah,
if you listed, it makes it a big pain to come back for. So,
Yeah.
right,
That's-
and it is just the same.
Oh, good, yeah, I didn't realize that, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Thank you.
don't apologize. Okay. Any other questions? That was a good catch. Okay, in that case,
I'm prepared to make a
are
motion.
you ready to make a motion? Go ahead.
Yes, prepared to make a motion, as provided. I move to approve PZC 26-1 to permit a barber shop to operate at 327 East Main Street pursuant to the following findings. The proposed use, a personal service facility under 5,000 square feet, is permitted pursuant to section 27.2.24 of the Clinton zoning regulations. Number 2, the proposed use will take place entirely within an existing structure with no exterior site alterations are proposed. Number 3, the applicant has demonstrated that there is adequate parking existing on site to accommodate the proposed use. Number 4, the commission excuses the requirements for a professionally prepared site plan pursuant to section 4.6.5 and 4.6.6 of the zoning regulations. Number 5, any modifications to the building interior or proposed signage are subject to further permits as required.
Oh, in the condition, change the, change in.
Yeah, and subject to the change of hours from,
To also include
Yeah.
Saturday from 9 to noon.
yes, it also includes Saturday 9 to noon.
Yep, thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, I appreciate it, thank you.
I get a free haircut?
Anytime.
No. Did you sign the ethics?
Never mind, toes.
Okay. Planning and zoning commission 26-2 and 26-3, that's the site plan and CAM. For an 830 G at 5 Liberty Place in where is it? In zone R60. we need to receive this tonight at this time.
I make a motion to receive, to receive the site plan and CAM.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got lots of choices. I'm gonna go with Mike.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, this one is still waiting, even though it's a site plan, we're still waiting on several documents, so it is not ready for a decision tonight. Or-
Attorney Sweeney is here on the line with us if there's.
Oh, okay. If there's an applicant here, agent or applicant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record tonight, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney.
Oh,
And-
wait, I'm sorry. I just remembered. I forgot to vote. Forgot to have the vote on receiving it.
Not a problem.
So all those in favor of the receiving this?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stating? Okay, sorry about that. I apologize.
Not
Go
a
ahead.
problem. For the record, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney and a partner at the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London. It's always a pleasure to be before your commission in Clinton. As indicated in your agenda, I represent a Strawberry Hill Realty LLC, which is the owner of property located at 5 Liberty Place here in Clinton. On their behalf, we have submitted an affordable housing development pursuant to Section 8-30G of the Connecticut General Statutes. It is a fairly straightforward and fairly modest application. I was asked by your staff just to be available tonight to answer any initial questions and just make a very brief overview of the project. You may be familiar with this site. This is already an apartment use established on this property. The Liberty Brook Estates apartment complex is located at the front of this property. That's a 24-unit apartment building right now. The proposal that we've put forth is to build a second building of 24 units behind that on the site. That would be a 2-story building, and it would be affordable under the Connecticut General Statutes requirements. The proposed building would have 1 2-bedroom apartment and 23 1-bedroom apartments. By law, 8 of those units have to be and will be deed restricted as affordable units pursuant to state law. 4 of them will be rented to individuals with a combined household income 80% of the average median income for the census area. And then 4 of units will be at 60% of AMI, again, consistent with the requirements of 830G. We've submitted an affordability plan that will be reviewed by the commission at a later date. That affordability plan makes clear that all of the units will be identical in terms of fit and finish. It's just a designation of 8 of the 24 units having that affordable income restriction. That'll be a restriction for 40 years as required by the general statutes. And those units will add to Clinton's total and get you closer to your requirements under 830G for set aside of affordable units. Parking has been provided on the site in accordance with the zoning regulations. And maybe the best thing about the project is we do have wetland approval from it. We have a comprehensive stormwater treatment plan for the project. And that stormwater treatment plan involves some surface detentions that don't just pick up drainage from the existing development, from the new development, but also the existing development. So we're sort of retrofitting the drainage for the whole site to do a better job of handling stormwater. I have Miss Ellen Bartlett is the engineer. She couldn't be with us tonight. I also have Brian Cleveland, who's the architect on the project. He can't be here tonight as well, but we're looking forward to coming back to the commission. Whether you decide to have a public hearing or not, it's completely up to the commission, but we'd love to come back to you in the next few weeks or next month to talk about the project more and have it come up for consideration. And again, I'm here if you have any questions, but tonight was really about receipt and just being here and present to make sure that you knew that we were excited about the project and we were looking forward to presenting it to you fully at the appropriate time.
Okay, I have just one question, and that is, if there's only 1 2-bedroom unit, where does that land in the 8 units that are affordable?
Yeah, so right now, the 8 units that we're designating are all one bedrooms in the affordability plan. The 2 bedroom unit is really sort of an odd unit in the center of the second floor, which sits above sort of the common or the utility space in the building. So it's just a layout issue. We're proposing that the 8 units are 1 bedroom units that we'd be making available. That's at least what we've proposed at this time.
Because I wasn't sure if that would meet the, state statutes.
I don't believe that it does. I believe that if there's 1 2-bedroom unit, that 1 2-bedroom unit has to be, one of the affordable units.
Yeah, and that was my point, because, it's the percentage, if it always rounds up,
Yeah,
so the.
I'd be happy to take a look at that with the commission. I'm not aware of that determination about the unit breakdown, but I'm happy to take a look at it. And if that's the case, then we'll certainly redesignate that as affordable.
Okay, just so you know that would be something that we'd want to make sure is correct.
Yeah, I'll make sure I'll have a response to you fully on that for the next meeting.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
and there's 24 units total, is that what I heard?
That's correct. There's 23 1 bedroom and 1 2 bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, as a site plan, this does not require a public hearing.
Correct.
But we do need to have all the documents in, so we can't, we don't.
Right.
But this is a strict site plan and data.
I believe we've submitted everything that's required at this time, but I do believe the town needs a little bit more time to finish its review. That's my understanding, at least. If there's any outstanding items, we'd be happy to get them to the town as well.
The stuff that's missing is, I believe, we haven't heard from the state yet on the CAM.
No, we should be okay on CAM. The two things we're waiting for is our town engineer to finalize the review of the stormwater engineering, which was a carryover from a previous application. So it should be a little bit quicker than normal. And then the town attorney is going to review the affordability plan. We had made a couple of tweaks with Attorney Sweeney, and now it's been sent off for her final approval as to form.
Okay, thank you.
The stormwater, taken care of?
That's one of the things. So they've made some significant amendments to the stormwater plan based on the town engineer's previous comments, and now that revised plan is under review by the town.
Okay, thank you.
My understanding is that we can schedule a public hearing this if we choose. So my question to the commission is, do we want to schedule this as a public hearing just for the, to kind of head off the argument that people weren't aware of this or made aware of it? I think it might be a prudent activity, and again, I'll refer the question to Attorney Sweeney, if he has any opposition to that. But I just think it might be better for the public to be able to comment on it, that way they don't feel that this was, kind of a backdoor move.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't think we need it.
It won't end up as a delay of any kind if we do that, would it?
No, we should be able to make the notifications from March 9th.
I agree that it's necessary,
Right.
but it might be for public opinion, it might be something that I want to consider.
Have we done that prior for other applicants and with the same,
We've done it on rare occasions, but there is precedent, yes.
just want to make sure that we're treating every applicant.
Right, it wouldn't be an unprecedented.
Okay.
We have no objection to a public hearing if that's what the commission wishes. I believe the commission has full discretion to hold a public hearing if it chooses to do so.
Correct. Okay, well, I'd like to do that as a vote then. And I know this isn't can you make it a formal motion?
Well, okay, I'll make a motion that we schedule this for a public hearing, and the date would be
March 9th.
March 9th at our next meeting. I just think it's not necessary, it's all public information, but I just think to avoid any potential conflict or accusations that we acted in an irregular fashion, it might be a prudent move to go forward in that fashion.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Sure.
I mean, the applicant is an 830G, so
Right.
as long as everything checks out. And there's nothing that endangers the health or safety,
Right.
where it's going to pass,
Right.
correct, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Look, I have a question. I noticed something in, when they're mapping, where they're talking about fertilizer to be used, and as we learned from a regulations committee meeting, they wanna crack down on hypoxia and stuff that causes it in there. And they're proposing using like a heavy nitrogen solvent fertilizer for the thing. Should we have any change that to accommodate our masters up in Hartford?
I think as part of the engineering review and as part of what comes forward in the public hearing, if there's questions on any application for fertilizers or materials that would either stabilize the basin or any of the landscaping, we can certainly revisit that and see if there's any changes. And we'll discuss that with the applicants ahead of the hearing to make sure there's answers.
Go ahead, sir.
Part of the stormwater management would kind of play into that fact as well. So like, as this plan materializes more, like, that's where that concern about fertilizer.
I just brought that up.
We'll certainly be ready to talk about that. I believe that came up at the Wetlands Commission review, so we'll be happy to talk about that at your hearing next month.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion on both motions? In that case, all those in favor of having a public hearing,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. We'll have a public hearing then. Okay.
Thank you so
you.
much. I appreciate your time.
With that then, we are done with this. We basically said we're sending it to public hearing, so it's done. Okay, item 5, public hearing is the first item, or well, before we do that, both can you please read the notice of public hearing?
Certainly. This is the legal notice of public hearing. The Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. PZC 25-22, a special exception for warehousing and self-storage facility pursuant to section 12.45 and 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations at 335 East Main Street, rear, map 88, block 69, lot 124, zone I2. Applicant Joe Barnock, Shoreline Partners LLC. Additionally, there's PZC 26-4, a zone change and lot line revision on town property located at 117 Nod Road, map 14, block 3, lot 26, zone IP, and 125 Nod Road, map 14, block 3, lot 27, zone R30. Also 0 East Shore Drive, map 14, block 3, lot 29, zone R30, and the applicant is the Town of Clinton. At said public hearing, all persons have the right to be heard. The applicants and correspondents are available for public inspection on the town's website. Anyone requiring special accommodation to participate in a public hearing should contact the Land Use Office at 860-669-3133. Michael Rossi, Chairman, Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Okay, with that, our first item then is going to be the special exception for the self-storage facility. Is there an agent or applicant here tonight? Okay.
I guess the applicant, Joe Barnett.
Can you come up, Joe? Come up and make sure we get you on tape.
Can you come a little closer?
So closer to the owl.
We just want to be able to hear you.
Yeah, our engineer couldn't be here tonight, but I can pretty much tell you what we're gonna do.
That would be, yeah, go ahead. Give us an overview.
Our property is 335 East Main Street, enters from East Main Street. It has a 25-foot entry from East Main Street, goes up 125 feet. The entrance of the property, there's going to be a gate at the first building you see there. There's an electric gate. It's all going to be fenced around the complete perimeter, 6-foot fence, chain link, and it will be slats in it, so you can't see through it. It's around the whole property. We're going to do 2 phases. First phase is going to be the building A, I believe it's the first building as you come up the driveway to your left, and then the next building, which would be this building here. This building here would be the first, in this first phase, these two buildings. The gate is here and it's connected there. And like I said, the perimeter is completely fenced. And our first phase will include these two buildings and our drainage will be first. So there's all drains that are put in here. There are blue. You can see in catch basins, that needs to be done first prior to we do any, other excavation or building. Right now, our engineer is designing, which is not complete yet. He's doing it because of the impervious regulations now on stormwater drainage, and that's become pretty extensive on the site. So that's not complete, but it will be our next meeting. Have that. The only other thing I believe wasn't complete was the lighting. Lighting is already have been on the site between the buildings and facing the, I guess the people's houses on this side, which would be the west side of the property. Buildings are about 75 or 80 feet away. The lighting is going to be red wall lighting at 8 feet height. The angle is about 40 degrees, which only goes out about 20 feet. So it shouldn't affect the neighborhood. And also the property on the houses that are there is, there's a stone wall. The 6-foot fence would probably, you'd have to be in this second floor of the house to see any of the lighting. The first level is not, your eyes will see the lighting at all. The rest is commercial all around us. Then in the phase, that first building is going to be warehouse. And that has flexible, rather than self-storage, it has flexible walls. We're gonna have movable walls because you don't own a warehouse. You need 20 by 20, 20 by 30. It's gonna be, they're gonna be movable in that one building. The rest of the buildings are gonna be regular self-storage, small units from 5 by 5 to 10 by 10s and typical smaller units.
Are these air conditioned or climate controlled?
We have, no, we have the first building, the first two buildings will be set up as climate control. They'll be insulated and will be possibly turned into it if we want to get into the climate control. But it'll be available. The buildings will be insulated for that. We're not proposing that at this time until we see what the market brings us. But it will be set up that way. First building will have access, the second building going in, the driveway will be where the parking spaces are. We're gonna have utility room in there because the site is not gonna be manned. It's gonna be completely set up with cameras around the complete buildings. We have that going all the time. So our camera room will be in there, all our utilities. We have a lighting that are gonna go into those, and the only access for those parking spaces over there will be for maintenance workers or that kind of thing. So there's not gonna be any office or people there. There's gonna be a card system to go in and out of the property. And it will also be, monitored with video. In the green down here, in part of our drainage thing, is we call it a pond. It's but for water retention. And that's being designed right now too, because of the impervious materials. It's getting a little bit involved in the engineering and design part. So, other than that, that's pretty much what it'll be. Unless you have any questions about it, I can.
Well, obvious thing for me is you've still got documents that you need to
That's
complete.
correct. Yeah, we have
And
to
to be reviewed by the engineer, so we will have to continue this tonight.
continue to the next. Yes, exactly.
Does anybody from the commission have questions before I open this up for public comments? Go ahead.
Are you planning on just a plain galvanized fence along
It's
the?
gonna be, no, it's gonna be black. It's
Okay.
not galvanized, it's gonna be black and it's gonna have black slats in it,
Okay,
so you can't see through.
cool. The other thing I had concern about is that there are the residential properties that abut these, was that the eastern, western side of the property? There is a ton of flood zone in that neighborhood, and there's a high water table on a lot of the properties in and around the general area of the site. My concern is that with a retaining pond right there, as that filters into the ground, it might help raise the surrounding groundwater and have a negative impact on the residents that live in the area. Is there anything that can be taken into consideration for trying to prevent something like that?
Honestly, I'm not the engineer for it, but I can say that, I mean, stormwater in that area. Is where the sand goes, it's sand, veins of sand in there. So the water is, when it seeps in the ground, it's gonna follow. I don't think you have any control of that, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I'm not an engineer.
Now, I will, one of the things that's out is the stormwater here.
Yeah.
So that should be, you're correct, that should be addressed in the.
Okay.
I'll speak to my engineer about it then.
Okay.
Mr. Barney.
Go ahead, Ed.
Mr. Barney, is this gonna be 24 hours? There's people come in, they have a key fob, they go in, they go out?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay, 24. It. Late at night, the only ones that may be late at night would be warehouse. I don't,
Well, you never know.
You don't know, you don't.
The warehouse space is strictly for storage, not like a light industrial purpose?
It's for warehouse, light industrial type. Yes.
Okay.
Only that building, yes.
With that, I'd like to take this time or this opportunity to hear from the public if there's anyone here who is interested in this particular application. The way that we do this, I will be asking for people who are in favor of the application to provide testimony first. Then those who are in opposition to the application provide testimony. And then I'll have it open to people who have just general comments. Please address any comments to me, okay, not to the applicant. And we will then at the end, if there's a need for a response from the applicant, we will allow them to respond. Okay, so at this time, is there anyone here that can speak in favor of this application? Very rarely get them. Okay, is there anybody here who wants to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, any general comment? Okay, I will, yes, go ahead, sir.
Hello, I'm Wes Kavanaugh. I live on East Shore Drive. There's a general comment about lighting. Lighting mounted on buildings facing outward is inherently difficult to control. Lighting LEDs have made it nearly impossible. The source brightness of LED lighting, you can see it cropping up all over town, is damaging to the eyes. It's glary. It actually is detrimental to seeing where you're going because you're getting lighting from adjacent buildings flooding the street. So I think that, and I know we have lighting regulations, but I don't know that they're being adequately enforced. So I'm just, when I hear lighting issues, I think of so much that's been done most recently, and it's because of technology that's been done wrongly. If the lights are around the property facing towards buildings, then it's easy, but an LED cannot just be aimed downwards to solve a glare issue because the source brightness is intense. And even though it's very small, it's intense and it has an effect on your ability to see. So I just bring that out as a general comment.
I think in answer to that, as you noted, the LED source is different, But you can still put a full shield around it or a partial shield around it to contain that angle, if you will.
Yeah,
And
shielding them is very important.
Yes.
It's almost the only way to control them.
And that's also how that should be reflected in the lighting plan. It's done in, foot candles, I believe.
Right.
And there's a limit on that. So that's a requirement that the applicant is aware of, and they've got to provide that in their lighting plan, which we don't have yet.
But I just, the fact that aiming it downward does not solve the problem.
Right, it's got to be done with a shield or something,
With a shield.
something to control that light.
And if we all, as we leave tonight, look at what we pass along the road, shields are not being applied to lighting that's being installed. And it's just a concern of mine.
Thank you. Anyone else with general comments from the public? Okay. I know, I have to finish the public first. Okay, would you like to respond to
Yeah,
anything?
it's just on the lighting, lighting on that side of the building, there's gonna be on motion sensors. So they're gonna be out off all night, and when you go by, they'll be on. It's almost mandatory now, it's not. The light manufacturers that we purchase our lights from recommend that sensors on the lights. In this particular case with the buildings, the way they're laid out, I doubt it would be on at all, really, because only when someone goes by will they go on. So, and then they'll be off, so at this point, I don't think that would even.
Yeah,
For
well, we
this
need to
particular
wait to
case.
see the lighting plan, so, we'll get that by next month. so. Thank you. Any, other comments from the commission? Can I get a motion to continue this public hearing to next month?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing to next month.
I'll
Okay,
second Ed's motion.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next one is, Planning and Zoning Commission 26-4, the zone change and lot line adjustment at 117 Nod Road, 125 Nod Road, and 0 East Shore Drive. Let's see, who's our agent or applicant for this?
Will be me. So I will, so I am gonna present this on behalf of the Public Works and Emergency Management Departments and go through the focus of this, and then we can certainly answer any questions as we go. This is, let's see. Can folks see the map up here?
Typically not.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble.
We can see the back of the TV perfectly.
Right, it needs to be aimed, so
Can we angle so folks in the audience can see a little bit better?
We have
And then I'll share. See it over. Yeah. And folks are willing, if you need to move or anything, as long as the commission can still see. All right. Is that better?
Can you still see that?
yeah, we'll do that.
Oh,
So,
everybody good?
good.
All right, and I'll just acknowledge that our town manager, Michelle Benavina is joining us online, but I'll give the bulk of the presentation and we'll go from there. So very quickly, this application is a two-part application. The public hearing is coming before the commission for it was done as a public hearing specifically because this is a request to amend the zoning map of the town of Clinton, as well as to amend some of the lot line boundaries for town-owned property at the locations that we talked about in the public, in the advertising for the public hearing. This project is to support the construction of a DPW, so Department of Public Works, and emergency management facility at the Public Works facility at 117 Knott Road. The town has received a $543,000 STEEP Small Town Economic Assistance Program grant to build this building, to bring DPW materials that are currently stored outside, inside, and to provide much needed storage space for our emergency management department. So it will be a dual use building. And one of the issues with the location of a public works facility in order to keep us away from wetlands and away from other site operations, there's really one ideal space on the DPW site to locate this building. It is a location where it's within the existing industrial district on the existing 117 Nod Road parcel that is already used for outside storage. And so this is sort of bringing some of those pieces inside, and kind of protecting our town investments a little bit better. The requirement for the zoning regulations is that buildings be set back at least 100 feet from any adjacent residential zone district. The land currently adjacent to this property, which is also owned by the town of Clinton, is zoned R30. And it doesn't meet the proposed location of the building will not meet a strict 100 feet. It's something like 68 feet or 70 feet, depending on where that final site plan winds up. So this is to make sure that what the town puts up can be zoning compliant. That's the entire sort of purpose behind this application. The desire is to, or the plan would be to go through this process to make sure the site plan is approvable and then come back to the commission with the site plan for the building itself. So there aren't details on the exact orientation of the building and all those pieces now. Generally speaking, it will be a large metal building that has a two-part sort of operations for DPW and emergency management. So a couple of things, just to sort of bring up about this, a portion of the property is within the coastal management boundary. And so this was sent up to DEEP. DEEP has provided a review and has found it consistent with the Coastal Management Act. And so there's no concern there. It's well over 100 feet from any wetland resource areas. We had Michelle Ford, our consulting certified soil scientist, take a look at this and make sure that the future location of the building wouldn't be within the area. And one of the reasons that we did that was to make sure that there was no need to sort of coordinate with wetlands on this application as we head into the site planning process. The Connecticut River Area Health District has already approved the required B100A application for this proposal, and that the application before you tonight complies with public health code requirements. So again, this is, it's entirely an effort being made to make sure that the zoning is and setbacks are compliant when you have a site plan that's approvable at your next meeting. There's a few things that have come up in public comment that I think are important to talk about. So the two properties there's the 117 Nod Road DPW facility proper, which is currently zoned IP. The two adjacent pieces, and you can see the existing lot lines are sort of here where I'm running my line, and there are two pieces here, are two pieces of property that are owned by the town of Clinton, but they are also part of the Boulder Lake District. And it's important to sort of understand some of the history there, and I'm sure there will be public comment on this, and we'll hear from folks. But I just wanted to go through a couple of things on that because I've had some extensive conversation with the town attorney on this and wanting to make sure folks understand kind of what we're proposing and what isn't at risk. So the Boulder Lake District encompasses area around Boulder Lake proper, and it includes these two parcels. The town properties are subject to restrictions on the original map 35 that established the Boulder Lake area. And some of those restrictions include things like we can't put advertising signage on, commercial buildings can't be put on that property, things like that. So there's a host of things that are listed. And in the notes for this map, there's an acknowledgement that even with a lot line adjustment, there is no change to that original restriction on these two remaining portions of the property. So if you look at the cursor here, if this is the original lot line, as it moves over to this proposed vertical lot line here, this land that's originally in these lots 18 and 19 on the Boulder Lake map are still subject to all of the same restrictions. There is no proposal to amend the boundary of the Boulder Lake District. So that's something, and that's something that I went through with the town attorney. We reviewed some of the statutory obligations, the charter documents for the Boulder Lake District, to be sure that there wasn't anything that was happening with this application that would negatively affect or impact the district's governance structure or require any hearings on the part of the district. That said, we received comments that are in the record right now from the district asking the commission to consider not doing the lot line adjustments, but to only look at modifying the zone district. If I don't have it correct, then during the public hearing, they can correct me. So, and that is something, so there's two pieces to that. One, It is possible to legally do that. I want to make sure that's clear. I've talked to the town attorney. That is something the commission could approve the zone change and not the boundary amendments.
Correct.
One of the things that I did have a long conversation with the town attorney about was the best practice of trying to align zone district boundaries with property lines. And I think that's been a long-standing effort the commission has made to sort of clean up the zoning map and make it very clear, so there's not opportunity for confusion in the future. And so the recommendation is still that this application proceed with the knowledge that there is no amendment to the Boulder Lake District as a result of doing this. But I think it is important to note that you have some options. As the commission goes forward and once you've heard public testimony, there's a recommended motion from the town that includes approval as configured and as presented to you tonight. There is also an alternative motion that we can share with the commission should you want to go in a direction of looking at the zone change and not the lot line adjustment. It's not the preferred alternative. It's not the one recommended by the town attorney, but it is permissible. The thing to note that if only the zoning is changed and not the lot lines, it will still enable the project to go forward, because the setback is from the boundary of the zone district. So it is something to be aware of there. And that's it. And then I also want to make sure I've talked a lot about the amendment of this line and moving these property lines that are abutting 117 over to a more vertical configuration. The other thing here is that currently this property line between lots 18 and 19 on the Boulder Lake map would also be merged. So there would be one town parcel over here. There are no plans at this time for any town development on any of these properties. These properties would remain in the R30 district. The zoning line would simply move from over here up to the IP boundary. So there'd be sort of a bright line in between. But again, there is no plans for any development here, and they still carry those restrictions from the tax district. The other piece, the building itself, as I mentioned before, is proposed to be entirely on the property already in the industrial zone.
What's the
When that
setback?
comes. So right now, so it's not fully sited, and so some of that, they're doing some tweaking on the site, finalizing the site plan, that's for later.
Requirement is 100.
The requirement is 100 feet from
Will
the
they-
residential district,
Will they
and
be
this,
100 feet
Yes.
away if they
Yeah, and
don't
it's
change
affected.
any lines?
so what will happen, and so this is an approximate, but what this would do is provide approximately 180 feet to the R30 zone. And the reason for this piece here was this vertical lot line is a much easier description. It's easier in the land records. It's easier for future appreciation, property management should it be necessary. But it's just a cleaner line than trying to follow this sort of winding line along the side here or create something, or doing, sort of a arbitrary carve out of area. So that was a suggestion that the surveyor originally made to the town, and we took him up on that. So
The winding line currently, the way it is, does not meet the 100 feet standard.
right,
But- So
Mhm.
turning that into a different lot line would make it 180 feet within the standard.
correct. And enable us to proceed with the next
And it's
phase
still
of the
town- and it's
project
still
or the
town
grant
property.
project.
Still, yeah, still on town property and everything.
Everything, all
They
of
have the
these are all
setbacks.
town properties.
So what's the problem with that?
There is no problem. There's, I mean, you have a recommended motion, but again, there's public testimony that
Yeah,
there are.
we'll wait
concerns about
until-
that.
No, I'm just saying, I just wanna know all the Ts, cross all the Ts, dot all the Is.
So moving the setback, but the original winding boundary would still have, that area would still have the original Boulder Lake.
Correct, and the
Restrictions, yeah,
notes in the plan are clear that these remnant pieces that were part of this original piece will still have those restrictions on them. So it's not as though we could then put a commercial building on top of those pieces. The zoning will change specifically to enable the construction of this grant funded building. But there is no plan and no intent or future plans on the part of Public Works to use this space back here for any DPW.
So what do we change it from an R30 to an I2 or something?
So it would go from R30 to IP.
I think, okay.
Yeah.
And, so if the concern is about what could go in that back part of this parcel in the future, it's still restricted by the Boulder Lake
Correct, and this map would be finalized and those notes would be very, very clear, and this would be part of the land records. There would be no, a Mylar would be filed with the town clerk, signed by the chair of the commission to make it clear that these restrictions apply to these two pieces, even though they are zoned IP,
Right.
they would still, they're
No
we're
loopholes.
not.
Basically, this parcel has three, or these parcels have three different sets of lines to them. One is the zoning lines, one is the property lines, and then the third is the Boulder District,
Correct,
the Boulder Lake District. Okay,
And
and
then-
you're asking for changing two of those.
correct.
Got it.
I just wanna make sure, so when the town attorney went over it, there's no loopholes that once this is changed, somebody can say, well, there's a loophole, now we get to do this on their Boulder.
So there are other provisions under the statutes for amending the boundaries of the Boulder Lake District or any district that's incorporated under that section of statute. And that requires separate public hearing and action by the Boulder Lake District and other pieces that would have to come into play. So the town can't unilaterally or independently remove itself from the district. There's other things that have to happen.
Okay, could,
Go ahead, Zach.
could there be any sort of, any consideration in the motion of, like ensuring something like, I mean, it automatically does because of the Boulder.
It's in
Right,
there.
so it's automatically mapped.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Never mind, I
Yeah.
kind of got through my question already.
I mean, if you wanted to adopt, if you were to move forward with the map as configured, you could adopt an additional finding specific that any area currently within the Boulder Lake District, is intended to, by this approval, to remain within that district
Yes.
with all attendant restrictions. So we could craft another finding in here. for
Yes.
you.
That would be
Very helpful.
probably helpful.
Yes.
I think that would be a good thing to have. Yeah. Okay, any other questions from the commission before I open this up? Because I'm sure we have people who would like to speak to it.
Not a question, but just a comment, certain municipalities void themselves from zoning regulations, and that has to be an action by the governing body. And Clinton does not have that. It has to be a specific action. I think it has to be recorded in the charter even, to avoid it. Clinton does not have that option. So they have to follow our zoning regulations, the town does. Certain municipalities, the town can override our regulations. Clinton does not have that right.
Okay, with that, we'll open this up for public comment and testimony. As I said in the directions before, first ask for those who are in favor, those who are opposed, and then finally, those people who have just general comments. I would ask that you identify yourself for the record when you speak so that we can get that. And if there's any question about names, you might get asked to make sure Lori records your name correctly. Okay, with that, is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of this application? Okay, is there anyone here who wants to speak in opposition to this application? Go ahead.
Okay.
Step up.
I'm going to just stand up here a little bit.
Move up to yell.
I am Diana Proto-Avino, okay? I am, been living in Clinton since 1971. I own 2 properties in the Boulder Lake plot plan, okay? We have actually, I'm gonna just put this down here for a second. We've probably given you a lot of information to look at, okay? To try to explain to you a little bit about the Boulder Lake plot plan map, which we live with, okay? All right, and you need to understand, I don't know if Abby want to put this up for them, this map right here, if you have it, I sent it to you, the map 35. If not, I can, it's the one that you already have. I have a couple copies here if you need them. Okay, I want you to understand the whole map. Okay, not just what's up there. I'll take you that.
Here.
Right.
I have it, I don't know if that just happened.
Abby has it too, maybe Abby could just.
It's already been sent to us, yeah, we all have it.
But there's something to be said about looking at that map and looking at what's up there. Okay, to understand how that map up there fits into the Boulder Lake plot plan, so I am looking to find it, which of course, you know, you have everything, so we're. Let me just hold on to yours for one second. Oh, not that, the one with this one right here, this one right here, okay.
Yeah.
So, Abby, you don't happen to have 35,
Searching for.
maybe you could put it up, it looks like this. This is the Boulder Lake plot plan map, and what's green.
Yeah.
Is the town property that we're talking about here. You all have it? We did try to send it out to everybody. Okay, all right. Here you go. You probably have this. And like I said, I have them too, but, all right, so you need to understand that the plot plan map, okay, is in so many documents as the plot plan map that it can't be like change, it can't change a lot of our legal documents, okay? So your property, 18 and 19. Please note that 18, we still call it 18, you call it 125 Nod, okay, same property, okay, is in the plot plan map. And that plot plan map is, we have a deed to that. The Boulder Lake Improvement Association has a deed that says the plot plan map is in it. You have all this. We sent it to you, okay, so you understand. The plot plan map is part of our nonprofit, okay, what is it?
Tax district.
Our tax, well, it's part of the tax district. It's part of your deed. You have your deeds. In the deed, it says, it refers to the 1946 plot plan map. The 1946 plot plan map is in my deed, okay? And that's the 1946 plot plan map. And it really can't be changed, like not easily. We won't go how hard it is. We know, we've lived it lately, more than you know. Okay, but here in this room, there are a lot of people who have this map in their deed. Okay, so what we're suggesting, okay, is we really don't want the map change. Changing the map is a lot of work. Okay, you have no idea. We know, because we have our own municipal lawyer who has led us through this ourselves. What we are suggesting, okay, is something that the town has already done in the tax district. And I don't know if you could pull this map up for them. Okay, I just sent this out to everyone today. Or maybe this morning I sent it to everybody, and make sure you understand this one. Okay.
You're gonna find it, give me just a second.
We did come prepared for you. I mean, we didn't want to just come in here and not have you understand what we're looking at. I will explain it to you anyway, while she talks. There is a lot in the Boulder Lake Tax District that belongs to the town. That way back about 25 years ago, 20 years ago, okay, they delineated it for us. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here are two maps. Okay, they're the same map with the same location. This is from the GIS map. This is the piece of property I want you to look at. Here's your 18 and 19. Okay, here's your 18 and 19 that we're talking about. And do you see this turquoise blue? That turquoise blue is a delineated line that the town put in there to delineate a residential buffer from the landfill. Okay, because we need, just like Abby's talking about how much you need to residential. We asked for, I think it was 200 feet, I can't remember, it's right across from Wes's house.
Yeah.
200 feet buffer, okay? So what we are asking you guys to do, if you decide to go with the project, I'm not here to talk about the project, okay? That's not my part. My part is if all of you decide that you want to go with this project and you need to have that footage, We are asking you to delineate the line. So instead of having a lot line change, which is going to change the map. Okay, a lot line change is gonna change map 35. Map 35 is everywhere. It is in the all the original deeds, it's in your deeds, it's in our papers when we came into our incorporation papers. Okay, it's in so it's in it's everywhere. Okay, so it takes a lot to make those changes. Okay, and it's not even just us here, okay, who we believe can make those changes, because we know what our board of directors can do and what they can't do. But we do know that this is in the this map, plot plan map, is in the deed of every single person, every single piece of property in the tax district, in the plot plan map. This property that you just saw up there, that's in the tax district, because the town put it in the tax district when they made this a taxing district in 1995. Okay, so I hope you understand what we're talking about. It's again, I'm not here to question whether you decide to do it. We just want to make it so it's easier. It's a lot of work, and just keep the map the way it is and just delineate the line. And that's what we're here for.
You've helped a lot because reading the material that was presented, I didn't understand what you were asking for.
I know, that's why this morning I sent Abby that.
Yeah,
I was,
and she had sent that out to us.
yeah, yeah.
I will admit that I was confused. I think I'd like to have our attorney tell us what their view is of the difference in writing. Okay, because I want to make sure that it's something we're very clear about before we make that decision. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Go ahead.
So does the decision have to be made tonight? Cause I know that the
No.
beginning, okay,
We do not have to
Because-
make a decision. Okay, so we can continue this public hearing without any problem.
Here's my question, and I guess it's the question for the attorney, is even if we change that lot line, it's not changing the boundaries of this district.
Correct.
It is,
Map 35 will not change. Right, map 35 exists as it is, and the authority of the district remains on the original boundary of map 35. So this is what I discussed with the town attorney. Because we are still maintaining all of those same restrictions, there's nothing that gets pulled out of the district. The district boundary itself doesn't change. And so when I spoke with the town attorney, her opinion was that there was no action required by the district and no need to go through an amendment process because map 35 itself wasn't being amended. The boundary of what is included in that district still rests with that original map
So in
35
other words,
boundary.
it's just a hypothetical, if somebody were to buy the lot next door to their existing house
just, yeah,
and knock that house down and make one lot of it, it would really be in effect the same thing that we're proposing here.
well, actually, you can
Little bit-
you can put the two lots together. That, I know that you want to put lot 18 and 19 together. That is not the issue. Okay, the issue is lopping off the end of it, which would change the map, because there are a lot of us who have put our plots together to build houses. I mean, the original lots in the plot plan were really tiny. We all had cottages on them. I mean, I used to come to a cottage here in 1953, where our property is right now.
That's
It's
kind of my
tiny little
question,
cottage.
isn't that pretty much the same thing that the town is proposing now? correct?
No,
Well,
No.
the town is proposing the merger, but the
Right.
town is also proposing modifying.
Yeah, they
and-
want to change it. The
Changing
merger is
the
No,
fine.
I understand that, yes, but similarly to changing the map, if you merge two lots, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same concept.
Right, and I think-
Let Abby respond, please, and then Zach.
Right, and I think it's a point of the difference between changing the authority and the boundary of what is in the district and changing the boundary of the parcels that the town owns. And so, and it's a little bit of a nuanced piece there. And then, like I said, I had extensive conversation with the town attorney about this, in which we were advised that we are not pulling the remaining pieces, those that would be merging into 117, they would not be coming out of that district. There would be no change to the authority of the district in its management of any other property in it, or of these pieces and what was in the original boundary. So that's sort of the reason that we came forward with this. When the testimony came in from our neighbors of Boulder Lake, one of the things that I wanted to be sure of was that if the commission wanted to move in a different direction and say, we are going to walk away from the lot line adjustment because it's not strictly necessary to permit the project in the future, that the building, we can move forward on sort of a schedule with moving forward with the project itself. Would it be permissible to essentially create a split zone on the town properties, on those R30 parcels, leave the property boundaries intact, and like we showed before, only move the zoning boundary? Which again is permissible, is just, it's not best practice in terms of where the zoning districts end. And then certainly, I think that it was January 1st of 2002 is when that R60 district came into effect. And so yes, it has been done in the past, sort of in partnership with the district. So there is a precedent there. It will not harm the project to go in that direction. It will still be able to proceed. It will just create on the zoning map that will remain is a split zone. So when and if the commission goes forward with map amendments to sort of clean things up and try to clarify all of these little split zones that occur around town, we just have to make sure the record is very, very clear as to why that happened. And I have, like I said, I have an alternative motion for you should you choose to go in that direction. I think it's important that, the two things. I think we want to look to best practices, absolutely. We also would like to see the project move forward in an efficient manner, right? Because this is grant funded. We want to make sure that we are able to, come back to you with a site plan, and that DPW and emergency management can bring the actual building and site in front of you in a reasonable time as well. So.
So underneath the town's proposal, on map 35, 19 and 18 would be coming together, and then that, the right edge would be straightened out. And is that the concern?
You wanna bring that up, right?
Yeah,
that
so
the-
I'm pulling that up right now.
That changes, to us, that changes the map.
Because it would be
Yes.
straightening the line,
Yes.
and then on the town proposal. Alright, so then. Okay, I see that you get.
So this is the line here, and this line that I'm showing follows the existing map 35.
Yes.
What is proposed is that the boundary change to over here, but the existing authority of map 35 stay in this same configuration. That the town deeds for these parcels would reflect that those restrictions are still in place. And
So it goes back to what I said before, that there are three different things here. One is the lot line, the zone line, and the Boulder Lake lines. And we aren't changing the Boulder Lake district lines. We aren't being asked to change that.
Yeah, they are.
And that
No.
that is the subject in which I believe the public testimony disagrees, right?
Okay, is there,
Okay. You gotta get the setbacks right. So if you leave everything status quo. And you guys take the land that you want and don't touch the land they got, then you have all your setbacks, right?
If the commission approves the zone district boundary amendment as shown on this map and advertised.
I'm
on this
talking
map.
about not accepting that. I'm saying,
No, I'm,
give them their boundary, give them the boundary and their setbacks. And facilitate this matter, because we have there's a lot of money on the table here, so.
right, so
Make
what-
them happy, they won't, because if we change these lines according to. The woman, she said that they'd have to change all the deeds, there's a lot encumbered.
No, that's why I want the lawyer our town lawyer to.
But I'm just saying, if that,
Because
that's what she's saying, everything is changed, everybody.
Well,
Everybody in Boulder Lake owns those
previous,
lots,
the
and it's on
previous
all the
statement we
deeds.
got it was from the lawyer was that it does not change their deed.
So you're.
So I
saying
want that
35 is
clarified.
always Gonna be 35. Map 35 is going to look, so who's gonna own that piece of property that is being locked off?
So the town of Clinton will own it
So you're
and the
gonna take
deeds
it
will
away from
reflect.
that, so it's not exactly the same map, okay? What you're saying, just so I'm clear, we're all
Right.
clear.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying, is that you're going to take a piece of property from the Boulder Lake plot plan map. And you are going to turn it over to the town of Clinton.
The town owns it.
That's not in the plot plan map.
Town owns it currently.
I'm just saying, you're
Right,
gonna
but what-
turn it on, you're gonna take it
Merge
away
property that's
from
not,
the,
yes.
from the Boulder Lake plot plan map.
No,
Yeah, that's what you
that's
just.
what you're doing.
This,
That's
so,
what you just said.
You say no.
can I clarify a little bit?
Go ahead.
So what would happen is these pieces right here that I'm showing that are currently in the plot plan map for Boulder Lake, map 35, yes, they would merge into this parcel.
Yes, they would.
The
be taken out of
the restriction that exists under map 35 would remain with them.
Yeah.
They would not be
But we
removed
would
the
lose the
authority.
property from the plot plan map.
The plot plan map is not itself being amended. However, the property boundaries as they exist would be amended and those boundaries would be described in the deed for the town property such that it would be clear that these are still subject to the restrictions under map 35.
And how would you describe it in lot 30, in all of our deeds? Where it says lot 30, where it says map 35, how would anybody know that it's not the same map now?
Well-
That it's got something locked off of it. Let me put, I'd like my own word. actually.
So, and that's the fair question. I think the intent is that if somebody is doing research in here and they stumble across this modification to a lot, these provisions to retain those elements of lot 35 would be in place. And so that's my understanding from the town attorney.
So you're saying the only reason you would do it is because of best practices,
Mhm.
but that the town could just delineate the map 35 and still build what they need to build.
Right, the town could,
Good.
and as I presented earlier, if I can, yeah, the town could keep all of these lines exactly as they are. No changes to any property line
And then
whatsoever.
they have their setbacks.
And
too.
then, right, and then this line where on the proposed map that's been advertised, so these pieces where my cursor is are currently zoned R30. That line for IP, which is over here at 117, would move and match this line here. And so that would become the line for the zone district.
A delineated line.
Exactly, very
Yes.
clear, and we would use this map and the surveyor's data to provide to our GIS provider, and that would update officially the zoning map. And what you would have is these two parcels, you would have 18 and 19, that would be split zones, so they would have some IP and some R30 on them.
Correct. That's
They are entirely owned by the town, there is no other plan for them. They are already restricted by the provisions on the Boulder Lake map 35, so things like, one single family home on each lot and, no advertising for other pieces or other stuff. That's all remains, doesn't change. So it's permissible to go forward with a motion tonight if you were to do so, and we've crafted that and have already gotten the opinion from the town attorney that it is permissible to do that.
Okay, we're still waiting for.
Oh,
still
sorry.
Public testimony.
But, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My next.
Yeah.
I'm Gina Vino, that's my wife. I live in the same house, been here for the same amount of years. We love Cliff. I'm good at throwing monkey wrenches. Would you propose? Okay. Those two lots, if they're merged. The town owns those two lots. Let's just suppose that the town wants some money and they sell those two lots. Those two lots now become tax-paying lots on the Boulder Lake Tax District. You've lopped off a piece of one of the lots that's now gonna be in your property. So the piece of property that was once bigger is smaller and is gonna generate less money than the full lot that was there before. Would the town pay the difference of the two parcels?
I understand the question, but I certainly can't speak to what the town may or may not have in the future.
You think the lawyer is gonna answer the question?
Boy, that's a big.
That would be town council or, yeah, that would have to be, above us. But, the point that I would make with that is, we aren't collecting taxes on it right now anyway. The other thing will be if we don't change the lot line and somebody buys that, anything they try to put up is going to be difficult, even if it's a single family house, because they're on a plot that crosses the zone line. That makes it much more difficult for them to build and to work on their property. Okay, so having the lot line and the zone line changed, we're doing that because it simplifies the process for the landowner
If you sell it,
if you sell it.
to put a house on.
Right, but that's why it's best practice to keep the lot lines and the zone lines together. Okay, what, as Abby said, that doesn't mean we have to do that, but that's why you would do it. Okay, and we're not doing discussion.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, gee, one other, what you mentioned.
Well, my real question is the town in the business of building houses on Boulder Lake property? Because they have another lot, the town owns another lot that is on the other side of the lake. And we don't collect taxes from the town. Okay, we are a municipality, just as the town is a municipality. But the town is exempt from paying taxes to us. So on all the town's property, we lose tax money. And my feeling is that if the town would like to get that property sold, we may have somebody who wants to buy it. And that would change a lot of this situation as far as making your plot line, because it wouldn't take any money away from us. I'm just like
Yeah, well, that issue would be something that needs to be taken up with town council. Because they'd have to make a decision about, whether or not they want to sell it out.
Okay,
Okay, but yeah, our board, our commission has no jurisdiction there, yeah.
it's not under your purview.
Correct.
Before Gene sits down, just want to put these two testimonies in context. Gene Avino is the Boulder Lake Tax District's tax collector. So he knows about the tax base and the importance of being able to recover as much income as possible, to pay our expenses. And Diana Avino is our community historian as well as secretary. So she is all knowledgeable about the history of our district. And Gene knows what it takes to cover our bills. So the loss of income from modifying what would be basically our grand list by lopping off a corner of it does impact our bottom line.
Two things. I need you to identify yourself for the record.
I'm sorry, I'm Wes Kavanaugh. I'm chairman. I'm president of the tax district.
Thank you. The second thing is, it's not changing your revenue because it's town owned now and it will be town owned after this. So it does not change the current revenue.
It doesn't currently, but we all know things change. And also, I don't want to enter into Gene's time, but I have a question about what are those lines called if they're no longer property lines? Right now, our tax is defined by the property lines of all the properties that are within it. Now we're taking part of it off. And we're taking that triangle and calling it something else. But it's not bounded by property line any longer, it's bounded by what? And how does that designation fall within what we could tax. We can restrict the use of it, is what.
Right, it's a use restriction with it. I mean, it's a and as I understand it,
Correct, yeah, there's the notes on this plan and what would be reflected in the deed for the town properties would be that 125 Nod Road and Lot 19 would still be subject to the restrictions on map 35 of Boulder Lake. Those restrictions would still remain, so that,
Okay,
but what,
okay,
how do you define what that is, if you're taking the property line?
let me just, that being said, that parcel is homogenized into the IP that's there. The regulations say you can't have two buildings on a lot in the Boulder Lake Tax District. So is that gonna throw some kind of a problem into that? Because is that the Boulder Lake lot, or is that the town lot, or is that a hybrid lot? What is it?
well, if we clean this up, it will, the back part of the lot is the Boulder Lake, still the Boulder Lake area. So you couldn't have, will restrict them from putting a building back there.
correct, you would not, there would be no additional buildings and there are none proposed or
Yeah,
contemplated.
they wouldn't be able to because of the proposal that's given to us.
Yeah,
Okay, it also says in the Boulder Lake regulations that you can't have a commercial business on Boulder Lake property except for 3 lots. This is not one of the lots that is designated as one of the lots. Now, would that be a problem if the
Well-
regulations?
It shouldn't, because what they're talking about is keeping the actual structures in the area outside the Boulder Lake district.
Okay, so that goes back to what I asked, is this a hybrid lot?
It would, if,
So-
it could be, if you're talking hybrid between Boulder Lake district and Town of Clinton district, yes. It will be a hybrid lot. It already is.
similar to other lots, for example, that have easements or other restrictions on them, this area would remain restricted according to map 35 of the Boulder Lake District. That's what would be remaining.
Okay, so then essentially the only question that you haven't answered is the tax money on that piece of property that's being lopped off. As to,
If there were ever to be a sale of this whole parcel here.
correct,
What would that, right, and that is a fair question, that is not a question that we've asked, because there's been no contemplation of any sale in the future or any desire on the part of the town to divest itself of these properties. So that's not even on the radar as a possibility at this stage. I understand, and certainly it's noted that, 20 years go by and things can change, so that's not, unheard at all. So it is a fair point.
okay, thank you.
Did you want to say more?
I just, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that what we're basically doing is taking what was a residential buffer and reducing it. These 2 residential properties formed part of our buffer that kept us protected as residents of Boulder Lake from the industrial park designation. So you are, as a planner, you're saying you're willing to reduce that buffer in this location in order to put your building where you want it. And we understand that, and I think we're accepting of that. But don't lose sight of the fact that you're really giving us less protection by moving this forward. And personally, because I live just up the road a moment, or a couple hundred yards. That area that is now R60, that is part of the town plan, has no property line between it and the town property. Would best practice be to put a property line at the juncture of those two designations.
So certainly if we have to go make sure that it was compliant and all that kind of stuff, because it was the zone change in 2002. I don't know what the history, whether that was made with the intention of evaluating it for a compliant lot area in the R60 district. So we want to check that and make sure there's no nonconformities that would be created by doing a lot line in that area. That's not on the table, nor has it been discussed. There's not any proposal for that. Best practice, yes, but there's a lot of research and caveat that would need to go into that. And again, I think the split zone potential on these parcels, if the parcels were to remain in their current configuration, again, there's no discussion of the town changing hands. There's a sale of any kind of other development happening on the land currently zoned R60. So yes, it is best practice to follow the property lines. There's no question, I think, about, what makes a clean zoning map and what makes clarity for future property owners and what folks can do with the land. In this particular case, the R60 is the more restrictive of the districts, and most of it's going to govern because you wouldn't be able to access the rear IP zone through a residential area, right? There are other protections in the zoning regulations that would prohibit industrial use in the back. Should the town ever say, listen, we're gonna sell 2 split zone parcels. So I think that's important just to be clear on as well, that it's unlikely that these would have industrial uses in the future if they were to not be in town hands. But again, that's not contemplated at this time.
So Abby, you're saying that if we redrew the lot line to make that straight line,
Mm-hmm.
that the parcel to the left will still be a conforming lot, correct?
This is still a conforming lot. Yes, everything here as proposed is conforming.
And the reason I make that distinction is that, typically, unless there's a big difference in lot, size or something. A realtor once told me that, and Dylan could probably chime in on this. If it's a building lot, having an extra quarter of an acre really doesn't add much value to it. So as far as, you're concerned about losing potential tax revenue in the future, should it be sold? The value is having a building lot in that area that's a nice area that you want to be connected to that group. And I don't think you'd be losing much tax revenue by having that lot slightly smaller, as long as it was still a conforming building lot.
Just to speak to that point, the boundary line is where setbacks are drawn from. So if you make a lot smaller, you're having to move setbacks from there. So it may decrease the value of the property because there's less actual building lot available. So you may not give the credit, or the value of the triangle might just be the fact that you can move closer lines on that side, which is exactly what you're doing on the other side of that line.
And Abby, did you say, I might be mistaken, oh, I'm sorry.
Let him finish and then once everybody's had a chance, I'll let you.
Yeah, I did have a question, which you said before.
Go ahead.
I think I've said everything I want to say.
Okay.
Because my house overlooks the site. Yes, there's lots of trees there, but we don't, that line does not mean the trees stay there. If it's lighting is an issue. And we're living that close to a work yard, which is what that field is. When there are trucks going in and out, they're beeping the horns turning, backwards, there's slamming of dump trucks, all of the noise associated with an industrial zone. It's moving closer to our community. And it's not just a line on a map. It affects our quality of life, and that's why we're here tonight.
Thank you. Before I get back to you, is there anybody else who wants to speak
I
first?
just have a basic question. My name is Russ Egan, and I'm at 129 Nod Road. That's my property there. And there is a more or less abandoned road that used to go up to the Oswald property. which at one time was up for sale. And I tried to buy it, but my question is, how is the town going to need to use that road that used to go to the Oswald property that actually borders my property line and new neighbors, Joanne and Mike Wagner? Is there gonna be requirements for town equipment to use that roadway? Or is everything going to be done from in back of the town garage?
My understanding is this is staying completely R30 and the project is completely in the IP district, so that there shouldn't be any use of that road.
Okay.
But,
Because
can you
they
clarify that?
actually-
Mm-hmm.
Did I state that correctly?
Correct, so this building is in an area that is already a gravel area used for DPW purposes. DPW isn't expanding its site, this is a building being put up in the
Okay.
footprint of what's already happening. So when we talk about getting closer to or modifying, sort of what comes closer to the residential area in the district and on the other side of East Shore, this footprint, and we'll see this in the site plan application when it's able to come in, isn't pushing back for substantially, I mean, feet, maybe, several feet at the most. It's not, it's a cleared gravel pad area that already exists that is needed for the building footprint. So there's no huge expansion of the DPW facility proposed. All access to this, and this is another reason that this location is being proposed for the building, because access will happen through the existing drive off of Knob Road and normal DPW operations. So instead of storing things outside and maneuvering in this area, they would be using the building instead. The hope would be that the building could act as a little bit of a shield and sort of have a face of a building rather than sort of a look into the DPW facility. And I apologize because I don't know the view from, from the homes going through the woods in the winter, but we can certainly at the site plan phase talk about things like lighting and other, sort of specific building techniques we might use to minimize
Right. we
effects.
definitely have to do that.
What is the review process moving forward?
Okay, well, there's two parts to this proposal. The first one is the exact one we have tonight, which is, the lot lines and zone line, change that's being proposed. Second, after, if that gets changed, then the town would come in with another application for the site plan, which would actually locate the building specifically on the property, have all the drainage, lighting, all of that would have to come in with the site plan. Traffic study if it, although I don't think we need a traffic study for this one, but, all of that type of work all comes in with the site plan, which would be a separate,
But is that subject to public hearing?
a site plan does not have to go to a public hearing now.
So is this our last chance to have an input into this?
You can still, give us information, even if it's a site plan, but when it gets announced, or, because we have to notice it. So we can still take that, information, but it's not a formal public hearing, no.
And if I could clear, the other piece too of the site plan process is that if the site plan conforms to the zoning standards that have been laid out for this area, then the commission has to look at that and say, okay, yes, it's met the provisions and move forward with the project. So it will have to be designed compliant with zoning, which is one of the reasons this conversation is happening, because this location would not have met the site requirements if this, at least zone district change doesn't go forward. So that's the.
So are you effectively saying that approving what we're looking at tonight is closing the door on our review of the building itself?
Unless the commission deemed it to be in the public interest to hold a public hearing on the site plan, yes.
Okay,
I did have a question for Abby, and I think she was talking, I think, to Mr. Alberino, but you mentioned, I think, that the setback had to be a certain amount of feet, unless the commission decided, I think that's what you said, unless the commission decided it did not have to have all of that footage. Did you say that?
No, the commission can't vary the regulations as they're written. And so the ZBA would be the body, if there was a request to vary the requirement for this, that would have gone to the ZBA. And you have to prove hardship and a whole bunch of other things, which I think there was a collective decision that that wasn't the best path for this project.
Yeah, I think she was referring to when I asked you if we changed
So.
the line.
Correct, so
Left
what would happen is, so the setback that is required under the zoning regulations is that the industrial work being done, that site plan has to be more than 100 feet from any residential zone district. This box and its approximate location would be less than 100 feet from the current boundary of the zone district, which matches that property line. So that R30 district comes right up to this property line, and the proposed location of the building is less than that 100 feet. It is a zoning district setback. I believe the setback for the IP district, if this area were IP, is actually only 10 feet on a sideline. And so, and even for a rear line, I think it's only 25. And so certainly, the intent is not to go that close in this case. The intent is to stay, well away from, the residential areas, if this were to go through, what was formerly zoned residential. The intent is to keep this within the footprint of the existing operations of the DPW facility, so that facility is not expanding its footprint, it's expanding its capacity to serve the residents, but not moving that footprint back. So that is the intent of this project. So if this were to go forward, it doesn't mean that the building would be 10 feet from this line. There's grade issues, there's other topographic and other issues there that preclude that. But the zone district boundary would be here, and the lot line boundaries would remain exactly as they are today.
And the only other question I had is, we know that on light lot 125, very close to that was on your property, there was a house.
Mhm.
There used to be a home, and the town owned it. Okay, and the town worked on it. And then eventually, I know that the town, I believe it was like in 2010, the town ended up having the fire department work with it, use it as and burnt it down, or to use it as a facility to practice for the fire department. That house obviously was in a residential zone on the town property. So I guess I'm going back to the fact that you talked about, could the town have a house on their property? Well, the town did have a house on their property. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. I'm not exactly sure where. I know it was very close to the right-hand side and a little bit above where Russ Egan's rectangle is. Yeah, there it is. It was right in there, right? Okay. So so just saying that. So we know that in Boulder Lake, you can't build everywhere because there's boulders everywhere. Okay, never mind. That whole lot is filled with wetlands. The wetlands go right down the middle of that. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of wetlands within 18 and 19, and maybe that was our other question is, would this end up going to inland wetlands? Considering this is all flood zone, it's wetlands, and no matter, we realized, okay, that you got permission from everybody, but we live it. We know that you could have it the right distance from the wetlands and the right distance from the flood zone, but we know that it doesn't make a difference to the people who are living in the district. As soon as you start cutting things down, as soon as you change things to impervious, whatever they're gonna be, it floods. It changes everything, okay? And so we're curious, okay, about whether this project, which will affect everything, and it will change the flooding, which is already really bad over there, okay? If it's gonna go to wetlands or, in the past, look, we're Boulder Lake. We lived through the 100-year storm that made us have to build a whole new dam. Okay, because it took out Nod Road, it took out 95, and it took out the trestles under the railroad tracks. You're not that far from us, okay, from that area that did that. We understand these storms, okay, so we have concern about taking away more, you know, of the fauna, the vegetation and what that's gonna do and how it's gonna change, you know, everything. So we're also curious, since we're not sure we're gonna get a chance to come back and have this conversation. We are a conservation district, so it's important to us. Okay, there's a real understanding of what kind of effect putting another building over there is gonna have. If there's gonna be some other way to add more things to it to help with flooding, we know. Soon as you take down a big tree or a bunch of trees, everybody gets flooded, more flooding, okay? So we just want you to keep that in mind, and I don't know if it's gonna go to inland if it's gonna go into inland wetlands, or it's just gonna come back to you. But that's a big deal for us.
It shouldn't, if we're, with what was presented, it wouldn't, go to inland wetlands because it's the building in the disturbed area is outside of the, inland wetlands, zone, or, you know, right area of, control. So, no, it wouldn't do that if they go with what was presented to me.
Sure.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I'd like to hear from the, okay,
I wanna, Mr. Chairman, I believe the pad and the work is done already.
There is existing developed area within the DPW site today where this would be sited. Whether there is a necessity to take down several trees, I do not know because the site plan has not been finalized
Right.
yet. So I don't wanna pretend that there may be nothing that happens at all.
Right.
But the intent, as I have seen it and that has been presented to me, is that the building would essentially would be placed in an area already graded, already gravelled and compacted and used for outdoor storage. So it would be replacing that area with this building to protect the equipment. So that's the thing. The other thing that I think is important to note that while absolutely on principle, things, you know, changing hydrology absolutely can have effects on other properties. The site plan will have to come in with the proper stormwater evaluation. So that's one, and there's nothing in the record tonight concerning that matter or that issue, and that's not the issue before the commission. So I want to.
go ahead.
First of all.
State your name again for the record.
I'm gonna know again. Are you aware that there is a easement for the state of Connecticut? Okay, so does that affect anything? It's a drainage area?
So that is part of what will be taken into consideration for the site plan, and the final tweaking of the site plan is stormwater design.
Okay, my second question is that my wife mentioned conservation. I've read about some of the things that are required when you make these zoning changes. Has this been run by the conservation group or authority in Clinton that you are taking something and making it into an industrial park? I know that for wetlands, usually if you fill a wetland, you gotta make a wetland someplace else.
We aren't, the proposal isn't to make it an industrial park. It is to move to change the zoning to make it an industrial park zone. That's a different thing than a site plan that make it an industrial park.
Okay, the fact that there is going to be residential property put into a IP zone. It must have some effect on the amount of space that is allocated for recreation or anything else in the town of Clinton. And my feeling is that what do we have as far as conservation? Do we have a conservation commission?
Yes.
So there is a conservation commission. They are notified along with the other boards and commission when we receive an application. So there was notification. We don't have any comment from them. And I think it's important. There's the things that deal with open space and recreation provisions are part of subdivision regulations, which is not what is being proposed here. Right, lot line modification is not the same thing as subdivision, and so those provisions are, you know, open space, you know, fee in lieu and maintaining certain things. That's not part of what this is. It's a very different category of applications.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm concerned about the fact I didn't know
Mhm.
that it had gone to the conservation group for any opinion from them.
The notice goes out, so there's a notice that we send out with all of our applications that goes to. Yeah.
Good.
I'm not kicking it, Deborah.
Oh, wait, Let me, are there anybody else who wants to speak from the
Yes,
public?
I'd just like to ask for a little more detail that you can share with us about the functions, because this is going to be our neighbor. And, you know, we'd like to know a bit about how it's going to be used and, you know, what about the lighting on this building? It's gonna be.
Well, again, this is not the site plan.
We
so
get the site.
We can't give you information on the lighting because it hasn't been cited yet.
Okay,
Yeah, it hasn't been proposed formally.
but you generally describe the building as a metal building with, for storage.
Correct, I agree. So the proposal and what was grant funded was storage, and we're not talking about hazardous materials. I mean, obviously salt happens elsewhere on site. There's other places for any of the, you know, oils and other things that DPW needs to use. This, my understanding is more for inert materials, equipment that's stored outside today, you know, plow pieces and that kind of stuff, you know, tools, those kinds of things. And then for emergency management, you know, it would be sort of an open space for them to store, whether it's blankets, MREs, water, you know, whatever may be necessary for them to stage in a location to, you know, move their services forward. So this is, my understanding is that there's nothing sort of hazardous or mobile or any of that kind of stuff that would be stored here. That it really is for stuff that gets sitting on the ground and under the weather for DPW operations would be able to be moved inside. That's my current understanding as I described.
Thank you.
Okay, well, please, is there anybody else in the public who would like to speak before I bring it back to the commission?
Just one thing. I asked you a question. Will I get an answer myself for the tax?
Oh, yeah, two houses on one lot.
No.
That's a separate matter. There's nothing to do with
I'm talking
tonight.
What will happen, the
Oh,
property
money.
being going over the taxes that I would lose on that piece of property? Will I get an answer to that? Because I know one of the things is that if we don't do things in a timely manner and we're against something, we can't file any kind of paperwork if we go over the limit. So I have asked a question that is in regards to something that is involved with the money that our tax district takes in. And I'd like to know when I will get an answer.
Oh, good if you could, yeah.
So the reality is that would require a separate legal opinion, and that's something that goes through the town manager, town council, because that deals with the disposition of property. There are, as our chair noted, there are no taxes now because it is a municipal property. There are no plans to change that, and I understand that we've talked about future, you know, conditions changing or those types of things. It's not on the table tonight, so I cannot give you an answer this evening. I do not know what the time horizon would be to assign that to the town attorney to provide an opinion on. So I don't want to make a promise for a time frame that I couldn't keep. I think the answer in some ways around what the discussion has been is for the commission to consider whether or not the split zone is something that is feasible in order to allow this grant funded project to get to the next step of review. That's part of the question. So.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in the public who would like to speak? Okay, Eddie, you've been patient.
Yeah, a couple of things. Bo said a quarter of an acre is not a lot. Quarter of an acre is a lot. Especially when you have a half acre lot, whatever it is.
Well,
So,
this,
I'm just, let me get this out, Mr. Chairman. The other thing is, seriously, if they change, if you don't change these lot lines and you keep them status quo, if you change them, these people, they told you that they have to change all the deeds, there's gonna be, they're gonna be inundated with paperwork and everything. If you went straight across, give them their setbacks, would that affect the building at all? Would it affect the status of the building? Because this is a very important building. And it has to go up. We got a grant, we have a lot of things to do, but let's keep everybody happy. And then we gotta worry about the runoff, we have to worry about a lot of things, so. I think if you just keep the status quo of the lot lines, that doesn't bother them. you get your setbacks, will that affect the outcome of this building?
Yeah, so I think the two things. One, I just wanna, make sure it's on the record that the town attorney did not believe that all of the deeds in the district needed to be changed as a result of this application.
They're on all their deeds, he said, so I don't know. Did
I
he say that?
understand, but there is a difference in opinion from what the district is describing and what our town attorney
Okay.
has opined on. That said, there is not a regulatory need to amend the lot lines. Right? This,
Okay.
as we've said, this line, this vertical line could be changed to only permit, so to keep the lot lines exactly as they are. And essentially this triangle, so the existing property boundary, a corner here and this section
Yes,
here would
Yep.
move from R30 to IP zoning.
Okay,
And that would enable the project to go forward to submit a site plan for your review. At which point, all of the issues about lighting, drainage, clearing,
Yes,
anything else that may come up would come before the
and that
commission.
keeps everybody happy, there's no, I don't wanna see this project is so important to our town to protect all our equipment and give us, our town what we need, and with that funding, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's helping both sides, that's my opinion.
Just have a question. This is grant funded. Abby, do you know if the grant has to be used by a certain date? I know some are time sensitive.
Yeah, I do, but it's either 1 or 2 years and I'll check that, but we are a little bit behind schedule because we've had to go and do additional applications to sort of modify what is possible on the property to continue forward, and we had some survey time, timing of surveys and stuff like that got delayed. So yes, there is a time component, and I think the hope for DPW would be that the commission would be prepared to make a decision so that we can go through if there's, whatever appeal period needs to pass in order to submit a site plan at the March meeting. I think that is their hope. You have rights and certainly know them well of what that timeframe looks like and can, continue if you want to go down and continue on the path of getting the legal opinion for the questions that have been raised tonight. That's completely within your purview. Whether it's strictly necessary, like I said, it's following zoning and lot lines together is best practice, and I would recommend that, generally speaking, as a rule. In this case, where the town the town is the sole owner of all of the property in the area and does not intend to sell these properties or do anything with them in the future, it is perfectly legal and permissible, and I have a motion drafted for you, should you choose to go down that path, to enable the zone change to happen so the project can get to the next phase. Right,
Without changing the law.
without changing the lot lines.
That's nice.
One of the concerns that I heard was about protection, from like the industrial area, and would there be any interest in the applicant amending for not using, if their lot lines were rezoned, not using previously R30 zone for IP uses?
So I think that's the subject of the restrictions from map 35 that talk about there cannot be commercial buildings put on these areas that are within the district. That cannot
And that
happen
goes to land.
either way. So that runs with the land no matter what. If the lot line boundaries don't change, that's very, very clear. And if the lot boundaries do change, those are restrictions that are placed on this portion of the town property. So either way, those restrictions on map 35, no real advertising, no commercial facilities, that stays. So DPW, even if this lot line were to go through, DPW cannot put a building back here because those restrictions don't go away.
My question is, that's current, like this current lot line drawings, they can't do that, they can't do anything in the R30 area.
Nothing industrial in that area.
No,
So like, I've heard concerns of protection of the neighbors. If we're keeping that, so there can be no IP use, industrial use,
Mhm.
not sure commercial, sure buildings, but saying within that boundary, the limitations remain.
Correct.
Is that something that can be?
That's already in place. That
Is it
can't be removed without separate action involving the district to remove those pieces of land out of the district. So those restrictions happen no matter what. So even if the zone change only happens this evening, these restrictions stay. So the town is still subject to not being able to expand the DPW facility into that newly zoned industrial area because it's subject to the
To the-
restrictions.
So the original current use, original use, if it was changed, is still. As defined by the nature of the piece of land.
Correct, so there's the zoning change, the provision of the zoning change essentially is to satisfy the setback requirements as the commission has written it in our zoning
So
regulations.
what is the,
But that is a distinct path from the restrictions that exist on the land because of its inclusion in the Boulder Lake original map.
so if if the map as proposed was adopted, there should be no cause for concern about the property's expansion or use varying. And no protection concerns.
There should not be but what we've heard from testimony is that those concerns exist and the district, it sounds like, intends to pursue those concerns. And so the question is, I think what Commissioner Alvarino was talking about is there a compromise to be had that would, again, even though it's zoned IP, maintain those restrictions because there's no change to that.
No change at all. Thing. And they're not lopping off a quarter of an acre.
Yeah, well, it does make sense. I guess I'm just trying to state for the record that there is no protection concern, or there's no harm concerns needed as proposed.
Now.
But as proposed. And that's what, there's no harm. Concern.
Correct, the
needed.
restrictions remain with the land, even if the application as proposed were
Accepted.
done. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else from the commission? Okay, is there any, before I close the public hearing or ask for a motion to continue, whichever people are interested in doing, I would like to make sure that the public has, said what they need to. Anybody, again, want to speak again? Go ahead, sir.
Tina Vino, just one last question. Can the town get a variance on, to put this in without changing anything?
I don't know that we'd be able to show hardship.
That was the concern, was that there may not be a hardship, and then the town is subject to the same, requirements for variance applications as otherwise,
Right.
Out there for anybody applying, and that varying the regulation or asking for a variance from the regulations was less preferable to coming in with an application that is compliant.
Go ahead.
My last question is, we have a lot of questions that we are ready to ask about the building, about the wetlands, about the conservation part. Do we write those up to this committee, to Abby, so that when you do have if you don't have a public hearing,
Yes,
Absolutely.
you can submit those for.
Right,
okay, that we can get answers from you? I mean, sometimes we never get answers, okay? This is not unusual for us. We write all the time, but we want to be assured that if we have questions, and we have a lot of them from the people in the district, okay, and that you're gonna answer our questions for us. We would appreciate that very much.
to be perfectly honest with you, after listening tonight, I believe that I will be recommending that this, even though it's a site plan, that we do a public hearing with it.
Yes, that would be a
Just,
good idea.
just because
Yes.
it's very important for us to make sure that you are heard, okay? So I'm going to be recommending that, and I have a feeling that most of the commission would agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
So, that'll help also. One of the things that I'm hearing is, and your concern about the lot line change, while I personally disagree with you, I think that the alternative language of just changing the zone line instead of the lot line, even though I really hate that, okay, I did really detest it. I think if it gives you a level of comfort that would be something that I would hope the commission will consider. Because like I said, I disagree with you. I understand your concerns, but I disagree with you. But I do want you to feel heard and be comfortable with what we do. And so that's why I would suggest that.
Thank you.
I would agree with Michael's, opinion of as well. I think that's nice and clean, but as Eddie said, the goals of both parties can be met by doing the keep just changing the zone in those lots.
Yeah, and I believe Abby has potential language for us
We do,
to
when you-
consider after the public hearing is closed.
Okay.
Okay,
So then we would move to need public hearing and then we'll be deciding this.
Correct.
right. That's a question I have for the commission, is do we want to continue this and get, the opinion of the lawyer in writing? Or do we want to, Abby says she's already got the opinion.
I like to read that, she's very.
Or if we want to just close this and, make our determination tonight. Or at least be able to consider it.
We can close the public hearing tonight and still wait for additional.
If you close the public hearing, even the opinion of the town attorney, I mean, because you'd be adding new information into the record, I wouldn't advise that. What I would say is that in order to keep this moving, and if the commission is amenable to doing just the zone change, my recommendation would be to consider the alternative motion when you get to deliberations, if that's something that you want to do. We can still get a written opinion from the town attorney on this matter so that you have an answer in writing for future policy or whatever else.
For future
And I think,
policy,
right,
But
so
not for.
correct. Wouldn't affect this particular application.
Okay, in that case, can I have a motion
I
to
make a motion to
close the
close,
public,
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
okay? Who seconded? Okay?
Hey, Jay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries, thank you. I have to get back to my agenda. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is this, are the staff reports. The main one, the A, B, C, and D, we don't really need to discuss tonight because those are written, you have those. But I did ask Abby to give us an update on all the things that the land use office is doing.
There are a bunch, and I will try to make it brief and can do more than tonight if we, because I made a list, but absolutely. So there's a few categories of things that we are working on, and I'm kind of going through the majority of what I am doing, which is in addition to the daily work that Kathy is doing to review every single building permit, flood application, zoning compliance, request, counter work, the research that Lori does on a daily basis, and all the clerking duty that as a complaint that comes in for zoning or blight, any of those pieces are all sort of crossing desks. And so, we have hundreds of those applications every single year. And so those are sort of the daily grind of things that happen. And then in addition, and then also the phone calls, the walk-ins, can I do this with my property? So Kathy sort of gets pulled into various directions very, very quickly and manages a tremendous amount of work. And a lot of that work is supported through Lori's actions and making sure that, she'll help out with the research and making sure that all of our records are up to date and all of that stuff. So there's a huge amount of just daily work that's going on. In terms of special projects, I've sort of put them in several categories. There's planning work, capital projects, grants, and other work in projects. Under some of the planning work, so you're well aware of things like the POCD and those kinds of things that we've worked on, and the regulations updates that we're working on for stormwater and the housing bill. So that's work that we're doing right now. The housing bill, as you all know, is a tremendous amount of time. We're also supporting, or I'm also supporting the harbor management plan. And so that is up with the state right now for their consideration. This has been going on for some time. It was funded through a small harbor improvement program grant a number of years ago and predates me, but we've got it up to the state now and are awaiting their comments. And then we'll go through, similar to the POCD, a public hearing and adoption process. This group had opportunity to comment way back early in the process. It's just been sort of sitting for a while waiting for that next step. So that's coming. Working on a hazard mitigation plan with Rivercog and so the town of Clinton. Historically, every 5 years, we are an annex to that broader plan. And so we're in the process of having that updated right now. So information will be coming to the commission, once our annex starts to take shape. We've had a number of meetings with, emergency management services, with Kathy as our floodplain administrator, all sorts of folks who are involved in this. So that's coming together. We oversee engineering reviews and work that happen, whether it's for reviews for applications that are coming before you or reviews of projects the town is working on. So and I'm helping to oversee that contract and services provided by CHA. We're partnering through the town manager's office and the town council with the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority and David Porras to look at CMDA district designations and what that does for us in terms of getting transit-oriented zoning support and kind of how this all meshes in with the downtown. So that is an ongoing conversation. We'll be coming to you with some updates for next steps and what that looks like. And it all follows out of a lot of the planning stuff that we did as part of the regional transit-oriented planning and stuff that we've done in the past. So all of these are sort of in line, working with Parks and Recreation on the beach sediment analysis and the erosion that's happening at the beach. And we have a contract out with Race Coastal Engineers to manage that project. They will be coming up with a long-term plan for how sediment moves and what beach maintenance and the long-term health of the beach should look like, including that area that has a lot of erosion in it. We do a lot, like I said, we do a lot of meeting with prospective developers. And so we're one of the early stops that people, if they want to do something in town, they come and they talk to us. We do support work for the Conservation Commission. So I will attend their meetings, and that can run anything from, me helping to oversee some of the textile recycling programs that are new in town to, communicating on food scraps to sort of preparing to help them with some of their invasive species proposals, and then preparing in the next couple of years to update the open space plan. So that's going to be something that's for capital projects. We have multiple sidewalk projects going on. And so there's design work for the center of town heading east to 145. And so upgrading that area. And then also the one that I am more involved in, the TAP 27-131 project, which is going west from the center of town to North Hyatt Grove, for new sidewalks on both sides of the road there. So I'm the project manager for that project. And so we're moving through, we got approval from town council to move that toward final design, and that's proceeding according to schedule. Also provide support to the federal local bridge program. And so there are certain bridges for which the town will receive 100% funding to replace those that were identified as in poor condition by the state of Connecticut. One of which is the Waterside Lane Bridge, and that would be a very large public sort of process to make sure folks understand what is happening and what to expect and what the requirements of the program are and all that kind of stuff. So there'll be updates in the coming months on that. Providing some support to the Harbor Management Commission on the dredging that needs to happen in the marina area, and out to Cedar Island. Also, I'm working with CHA and with Race Coastal Engineers, really regarding the marina parking lot and drainage improvements and some landscaping improvements and some other pieces there to try to improve pedestrian connections and kind of help upgrade the marina area. So partnering with Harbor Management, our Harbor Master Rob Derry, the town manager, all of those folks to do that. For grants, I'm managing the grants that are funding. So we applied for a $143,000 grant to the Small Harbor Improvement Program for improvements to the marina area, potential platform for viewing and additional sort of public recreation, water access area on one side of the town facility next to the boat ramp, and then improvements to Esposito Beach to still maintain the beach, but improve that public access. And that's all sort of coming together, and that's being done in partnership with a SHIP grant that was from 2018, I believe, to do some additional improvements to the boat ramp, because I know we have high tide issues and folks getting into the water can be kind of tricky. So we're doing a redesign of that area as well. So we're moving all of those things to design documents that then will allow us to be grant ready, hopefully, for funding for construction. I'm doing assistance with the open space grant, so as part of the application process for the acquisition of the property on Killingworth Turnpike, and in providing support as I can to help the land trust in partnership with the Conservation Commission move that forward. Had worked on the congressionally designated funding application that we did for the WPCC to get the downtown wastewater system moving. Happy to say that we got notification that the $500,000 we applied for 2 years ago and then again last year was signed into the budget. And so what that means now is it goes to the executive branch for funding and assignment to an agency, and then the WPCC can get started on the final design for that downtown wastewater treatment. I do a lot of reviews of grant opportunities, so people send me like applications for grants all the time. We go through and say, do we have a town project that matches? Do I have engineering support to get it going and get it out the door? So we do a lot of grant applications. I've tried a couple times to put in for artistic style bike racks and try to, do something kind of fun downtown with bike racks and connectivity. Haven't been funded yet, but we'll get there. Other projects that we're working on, so a lot of work to support downtown and Rocky Ledge. So there's some conversation happening with the WPCC about next steps for each of those, as the WPCC has some direction from town council on where to go. I am working with the sustainability committee on our recertification under the sustainable CT program. So we're going to try to go for another recert of bronze in the spring and see if we have enough points for silver in the fall. So that's another sort of large effort to keep us on that list. GIS, there's a bunch of work and there's a bunch of projects that have been standing for some time that we're trying to get resolved and trying to work with the assessor's office to make that happen. Some of this is zone district cleanup, address points that we've talked about with this group and coordinating with emergency management, kayak trails and some interesting stuff with the Harbor Management Commission. We have mapped mooring fields and helping support harbor management in their sort of organization of mooring areas off the coast. And yes, tax districts are on the list, I promise. It's on the list.
I knew that was gonna come.
Yeah, it's never come off the list. So all of those pieces. I sit on the regional housing committee, so some of the stuff happening with the housing bill and some of the support for that, I will be working with that. Coastal resiliency, so implementing elements of the coastal plan that we did, the foreshore plan. One of the things coming soon is an app called My Coast, and that is it's an app that is currently in Groton and Stonington. We're partnering with Saybrook and Westbrook and Fenwick, sort of the extension of the foreshore plan, to have our communities be the next launching point for that. So it's a statewide program, will be available eventually statewide, but it's essentially a way for folks to help us document storm impacts. It can be inland or coastal, so it's called My Coast, but it works for inland flooding as well. And this is a way for folks to upload pictures to say, look, this is the storm and this is the flooding we're seeing. And this is the, kind of what's going on, so that we have a better set of information when we're applying for grants. So that's all going on. Helping the tree committee with tree ordinances. I'm doing a bunch with our MS4 permitting that we talked about in the regulations committee, but there's a ton of work going on surrounding that. Trying to support the trolley for next year, as I don't know if folks are aware, but the town is looking at options to put in some funding, but the federal funding for the trolley is going away. And so we're trying to make sure that this is a service that can keep going and growing, because we had such a spike last year based on our efforts to keep it, in town. Providing support for Pearson. So I sort of peripherally come into that when necessary. Providing enforcement support to Kathy. And again, it's a lot of, support work for others. So, beautification, EDC, the food pantry boxes out back, anything that kind of crosses through the town. They're like, are we allowed to do this? Typically I get a call. So that helps a lot to sort of, it's nice though to have it all kind of come through us. We do a lot of project and property research as necessary to sort of do these projects and, apply for grants and all that kind of stuff. And then again, just the general office management, so the personnel, the budget for policies, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a snapshot of what's on the plate right now. And there's probably more. That's what I've got.
Well, Abby, I just want to congratulate you, applaud you. Did you do anything with the, about the brownfields? Did we get any money for that?
So we don't have money for
You're gonna
brownfields now.
do it?
We did so what we participated in was the Yukon brownfields map program.
Right.
And so they have done an updated assessment and inventory for us. We have a few property owners that we've said that, look, we have some services we can provide. We can partner you with grant writing and help you move forward. Those private property owners aren't ready yet.
So the money that they said was available to identify, And then from there, they said they were gonna be smart. So-
Right, so it cost us nothing to get our updated inventory, so that is set
That's
in
great.
our possession, we've
Okay.
got it, and it's great, it helps stand up Connecticut points, it also helps us say.
That came from
you know,
River Talk, by the way, guys.
Yeah, so, and that's part of the UConn, they have a whole entire floor of students who goes out to do these map projects, so they were great, I work with them in other communities and work with them here, they're wonderful. Next is using that and leveraging it when the brownfield grants become available, usually twice a year, is just partnering folks.
Thank you, Ann, for following up, I appreciate it. Okay, you're busy.
Old business.
Oh, my God.
Let's see, we've got, old. The first one is, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-22, which we have continued to next month, so we can skip that. Then we have the, 26-4, that's the zone change and lot line amendment. And I think what I'd like to have us discuss is, using alternative language that only changes the zone line and not the lot line to address the concerns of, the Boulder Lake.
Abby, you have that
Thank you.
alternative? Okay, because I didn't see it in the material.
We didn't want to leave the discussion
You
before.
bet.
so that's-
Oh,
Thank you, Michael.
okay.
Oh, we're gonna do that.
So what's coming around to you now, the front part of this is essentially what I presented, summarizing some of what we received in testimony before tonight's hearing. So that's all information that's already in the record. The alternative motion essentially is the summary of all of those things put together, with some findings and approval of the lot line amendment and denial. I'm happy to read anything out loud for folks to hear.
Go ahead. Could you read that?
Do you want me to read the whole report? Or
No, this is the proposed amendment, or
So-
proposed, motion.
Yep, so the alternative proposed motion would be to move to approve the proposed zone district amendments to the Clinton zoning map and to deny the proposed lot line amendments as shown on plans, lot line and zone line modification map, perimeter survey, land of town of Clinton, 117 Nod Road, 125 Nod Road, and lot 18, section B, Boulder Lake, Shore Drive East, Clinton, Connecticut, prepared by Cadence Survey LLC, dated January 5th, 2026, with one condition, and adopt the following findings of fact. One, the public hearing for the zoning map amendment has met the notice requirements in section 4 of the Clinton zoning regulations and Connecticut General Statute, section 87D. Two, the proposed zone district change from R30 to IP is consistent with the 2025 Plan of Conservation and Development, maintaining existing restrictions to limit commercial operations on land currently zoned R30, will maintain buffers to residential development and natural resources as noted in future land use plans for industrial areas. And so this is what Zach was talking about before with the provision to keep those section 35 restrictions. Number three, for the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the purpose and authority outlined in section 1 of the Clinton zoning regulations. Four, the application as proposed is consistent with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act and will have no adverse impacts on coastal resources. Five, the proposed lot line amendments are not strictly necessary to enable future use of the Clinton Public Works facility at 117 Nod Road. And the one condition, the submitted plans shall be amended to reflect the zone district boundary change from R30 to IP only. So that map that was submitted would need to be changed to show it just as a zoning map and not as a lot line adjustment.
Thank you.
So then do we make that motion or is there a motion
Well,
on the?
There's not a motion, we're in discussion right now. If somebody would like to make that motion,
So then,
you,
well,
you could just say, I'll make that motion.
and then I guess you could just vote on it.
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
You got it.
We still have
We'll
discussion.
make that.
Go ahead.
So we'll make the alternative motion a motion.
Yeah.
So then I would just read this
No,
again.
just say
No,
Say so.
Okay, so I was like, oh.
Just say.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
No, you're not.
I beat it.
I'm second.
Okay,
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Andy.
thank you. Okay, discussion.
You know, I agree with your assessment that the other lot line adjustment is cleaner, but I think Eddie's position meets the concerns of the neighbors and still allows the project to go forward. So I think it's a good.
Win-win for everybody.
I think it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Might be a little more work, but I think it's a win.
They would have. Whatever.
Any other discussion, anybody?
Nope.
Just,
And thank you, Zach, for
Say-
your input.
yeah,
Okay, well, in that case, I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
I,
No,
Aye.
I wanna order pizza.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, it passed as a minute, okay? And, again, I wanna thank everyone for, coming and speaking to us. Thank you.
yep,
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
thank
the
you.
next item on the agenda is 26-1 site plan for the barber shop. We already took care of that, so we can skip it. Committee report. Regulations committee met this week,
Yes, we did.
last week, whatever, Thursday. We're working on stormwater and the housing bill discussion is what we covered. We need to have the next meeting on March 5th. But it's gonna have to start early. That may be inconvenient for some of us to do.
5?
So 4:30 or 5.
What time you got to school?
I definitely can't make that, that's
Yeah.
too early.
5:30?
Okay,
No.
but if
Well,
you've
5:30
got the
better than
road,
4:30.
you've got the Rose Room scheduled, Lori took care of that.
So for 5:30?
Nice seeing you guys.
For 5, if you get there, you know, 5:30, that's,
Okay, I know that this was like a debate between 4:30 and 5:30. 4:30 would be an absolute
No,
no.
just do 5. Can we do 5:30, sir?
We can't make it too late.
So
Because-
so the reason for the move is because I'm scheduled to be the town council for the budget meetings.
If I'm working, I get out at 4, by the time I get there, we can do 5.
So if we did 5, I can get you started. If conversation continues, my hope would be to have some material for you to start talking about ahead of the meeting.
I'll try to-
So that if you look at it, if you have comments or questions, you know, get them in, and we'll make sure we distribute it to everybody. But I think the hope is that, you know, we can at least keep the meeting and make it productive, and I can stay as long as possible, and then you can just give.
so I would like to, I was hoping for 4:30, but if 5 o'clock start is better, let's plan on the 5 o'clock start.
Yeah, because by the time I park my truck and drive there, it's fine.
So, the people on the regulations committee did get, documents that, you know, from, Lori, you know, example, or, you know, what we discussed, so you've got that to already start working with. The next thing is correspondence and bills. We have a correspondence related to 151 and 153 Main Street. They are asking us to help them get their certificate of occupancy. We don't have the authority to give that.
No, Richard.
And they aren't ready yet for it. So I would be opposed to acting on this request.
And Jay is here. I don't know if you have any questions or comments.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm Jay Kuru. I'm the owner of the property, 151.
Okay.
So, yeah, we still have some work to do with the stormwater. But because of the weather condition, we are not able to complete that. But the work for the unit 11 is done, and we have a 1031 exchange deal. So I have to close by Friday. They are from California, the customers, and they bought this property, and we were not able to get to it because of the weather condition.
We don't have the authority to issue the CO first either. But, you know, until we have everything complete, we need to keep it open because it's gotta be able to be inspected.
Yes, and we actually provided the option in my letter that we are ready to post a bond to guarantee that we will complete this as soon as we get some good weather. But
That's
the problem is,
different from giving the authority, right now, the commissioner or the enforcement officer has the right to inspect the property. Once it's sold, it becomes private property. She no longer has that right to access the property. That's where the biggest problem is.
it's only one unit because we have all the other.
One unit's a problem though. She can't access it. You're asking us to release something when important work, drainage work is obviously very important. And it's not done, it's not inspected. And if we were to allow this to go through and that property transfer were to take place, Kathy no longer has the legal right to access that property to
Can't even
it.
go on the property.
Well, the property, the improvements in question, so we're looking at 151 to 153 East Main, right? So the condos that are being built. Kathy would still have access to the
Yes.
property in general to evaluate the common elements.
Right.
What would happen is you would have the potential for a resident living in this area that the common elements have not been installed, inspected, or found to be in compliance with the approved plans.
Right.
And so, it's sort of, it's similar to, but not the same as, when subdivisions come through and we're supposed to be inspecting and making sure things are put in the right place and done according to plan. And typically you wouldn't issue, you would want to avoid certificates of occupancy until that happens. And what Mr. Curb is asking for is to say, if they post a bond, is the commission comfortable going past, so do it make
How
a
much is
different
the bond?
practice?
The bond.
Well, the proposal is 21,326.
How much?
21,300.
No, not enough.
I will say that
Wait,
that
hey, no,
number,
no.
well, and that number there are documents and plans that have been submitted to our town engineer for review. All that information came through around noon today, somewhere in the midday today. Our town engineer has not had the opportunity to fully review them. And so that's something that, we would typically, for any bond proposal that comes forward, have the town engineer
Excuse me,
do that review.
this is what Mike does for a living. He said that's not even nearly enough.
No. If you wanted to give us like
Mike,
250,000, yeah. Maybe we'd talk about it, but 21,000, forget it.
Dylan, you had it.
This is kind of like a escrow holdback on a real estate transaction for something that's outside of the seller's repair or something. Instead of an attorney holding money, waiting for the repair to get done and releasing the funds, it's just the town kind of holding something against them to make sure that it's completed, and then they release the funds and stuff like that. The other thing is the nature of the transaction itself. That's the 1031 exchange. There's a lot of tax implications there. The federal government is very adamant about that 90-day timeline. That could force the buyer to pay capital gains on anything that they receive from their sale that could impact the purchase, which could then slow up the entire subdivision because now you don't have a comp for any finance deals after that. It could really, really be detrimental to the real estate aspect of this.
that's not our problem though, Dylan, but the problem is,
Yeah.
that's not our problem.
I know.
I understand about FHA and all that stuff, all the at USDA, but I'm worried about if the guy doesn't finish, 21,000 is not gonna cover it.
That's fine, but
So
if
who
we-
covers it?
If we do a higher amount, and
Yeah, it has to be a higher amount.
right, that nobody's debating that.
Okay, so make it a higher amount.
But I think we can't arbitrarily come up with an amount tonight that's not vetted by the town engineer.
Alright, so, I mean, I'm just saying, you could work it out, but will you do what you gotta do.
But also, I thought this was not in our purview to make
It's not.
this
We
decision.
can't give,
No,
we can't
Kathy,
give them a CO,
Kathy's gotta
and the
talk.
town engineer typically sets the bond amount. That's who analyzes the proposal and sets the bond amount.
So what the question that would really need to be asked of the commission is, would you direct Kathy to do the zoning sign off for a certificate of occupancy, or in this case, a temporary certificate of occupancy? And we all know that once temporary or otherwise, once occupancy is out there, people have the right to move in, which means folks can be in that unit, right? They have that right. Can't roll that back.
I know it's for
Um,
that, there you go.
But you would be essentially directing Kathy to say, yes, we can go forward with the zoning sign off that happens as part of the building official's issuance of the CO, right? So the building official is the only authority that can issue that certificate of occupancy, but that happens subject to zoning review. And what Kathy is saying right now is because it is not compliant, she cannot sign that zoning review.
So could we make Kathy, could you make the bond higher?
I don't feel
Protect
comfortable.
She
yourself?
can't,
Could
I
the
just-
town attorney make it?
Right. So this is the answer.
Property.
Well, Mike,
The answer is then no.
Yeah, I agree. This is just poor practice.
yeah.
Put
Yeah.
it plain, it's poor practice.
And that's, like I said, I'm strongly,
I never had this halfway for it.
What did you say, Mike?
I said I'm strongly opposed to us doing this.
Yeah, agreed.
Do we need a vote on this?
Unfortunately.
So it's come through as correspondence. There's no vote required. The vote that would have been required would be if you were going to go down the path
Of telling Kathy to sign off on it.
I just feel it's very poor practice.
I agree with Bo.
Okay, well, in that case, that's closed. And we're to adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Closed. Meeting. We're
Everybody,
adjourned
goodbye.
9:30.
Get your cookie, Mike, get your cookie.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, right now.